Wagwan, ladies people, my Inquisitive crew. Let's talk about the latest episode of Love and Marriage Detroit. Now, I want to pick up on these two here. Now, Kristina and Latoya had a little chat because, as you know, if you're watching, they're away at the weekend retreat that Latoya and her husband Anthony organised. So after dinner, they decided to go and have a chat. And of course, Kristina brought up the fact, that she wants to know, is there anything she's done to Latoya in particular as to why she kind of has her off as this bad person? And once again, Latoya decides to start speaking about other people's situations and the way you've done this and the way you've done that. I'm thinking, Kristina's better than me because I would have been asking her, is there anything that I've done to you specifically? Because what happened between Kristina and Colby has nothing to do with her. So why is she in people's business like that? I just think at this point, she's given the energy like she just doesn't like Kristina because, she gave that answer from what we could see on camera to her. But then in her confessional, she's talking about, it depends if Kristina is truly being herself and, what she wants out of the relationship and, keeping in contact with each other and blah, blah, blah. So I'm thinking, why didn't you just say that? Because your body language is giving, you're just not really that bothered. Because when Kristina was saying, oh, look, it's easy, just put it to bed, it's not like a big deal. You can see from her energy, it was still kind of bothering her spirit. So I just feel like she has something against Kristina at this point. We'll see how it all plays out. But I personally think she's giving off the vibe like she's just not really into Kristina. And she's just, convinced that, Kristina is bad with other people, but it's like, well, what was it with you? Can you not stick to the subject? She asked you a question. Moving on to her husband. Now, he organised his little man's movement and Bravo, the other guy that's on the show, he decided to invite Marcel from Love and Marriage Huntsville to come along and to speak. Now, I thought it was interesting when Anthony was talking about it, because Marcel's face was like this and I was thinking, Marcel, I think everybody looks like this and is a bit confused when this guy talks because he does really talk a lot. But he agreed to come and speak at this man's movement event, which is, okay, fine. But then when you roll on to the man's movement, it was looking pretty dire. Firstly, I was thinking the actual event venue itself, what the hell? There was nowhere for you to sit down properly. I was thinking it looked like the hall, at the end when you finished the party, you cleaned up and everything, it's time to go. Because there was no table set with anything to sit down so the guys could take notes. So I was thinking, what kind of event is this? And furthermore, where are the people? And he's going on about this man's movement and having this big effect and stuff. And I'm looking at the people that turned up and look, at least you had some people turn up, but I'm pretty sure half of those people are your friends and family. Because I'm like, well, what's going on with your messaging around your movement? And I'd have to agree with Brandon. I agree with Brandon because I felt like he's quite right in saying, he still doesn't get it. They went for a march, walking up and down the street because it stopped raining, but they had no signage. They had, what was the messaging? What was the purpose? You've got Anthony talking about, mentoring. So where's the mentoring matching? What's happening? You've got Marcel coming all the way down here to speak to a handful of people. Could tell he wasn't too impressed. I'm sure he had better things to do this time. So it's just I think they should go back to the drawing board and, get back to planning on this whole thing. Colby, I found slightly irritating when she tried to check Brandon and say, well, I know what it was about. I was confused before, but I know what it's about. Well, if Brandon is still confused, then let him be confused. And if anyone who needs to check him, it should be maybe Anthony's wife. Why are you piping up? But as you guys know, if you've been following me, you'll know that Anthony does irritate me slightly, just as his jacket does. I mean, look at this. I still can't believe that his wife let him sit there like this. It looks like he's about to burst out of it at the seams. I digress. Anyway, on to Brandon, who I really felt sorry for this week's show because of his whole relationship breakdown with his mum. It was good to see that they went therapy, but you can see where a lot of the issues come from. I thought it was so sad that his mum spoke about, seeing him sucking his thumb and not really answering her when she would ask what's up. He was 7 or 8 years old. He's a kid. So what do you expect him to do? He's a kid. So you've taken it from a kid from 7 or 8 years old and decided that I'm not going to engage with this child anymore because he doesn't want to engage. What is that? It kind of just made me think of back in the day, a lot of these older white women, back in the day, they had a lot of people of colour looking after their children. So it makes me think, obviously she grew up in the hood, so maybe she just didn't know how to look after her own kids. Where's the maternal instinct in all that? It's really strange because even as they're doing the therapy, And the therapist is asking, for their feedback and stuff. And the mum even mentions, oh, yeah, I spoke to someone and they said that they speak to their child every day. Oh, well, you won't get that from me. I'm like, wow, like, it's very hurtful. You can see where Brandon has definitely got issues that stem from his communication with his mum. And I hope that he does definitely get to work this stuff out, because this seems like it's a lot. Anyway, what do you guys think?